folks. Tell me if you can hear us. We're live, folks. Yeah, they can tell me if you can hear us. We're live, folks. Yeah, they can tell me if you can hear us. We're live, folks. There it is. We're on there. You can hear us. It's the best we got. There it is. We're on there. So we're just doing some audio testing before we go. It's the best we got. How about this? Doing some audio testing before we go. Hear me? Can you hear me now? Like the Verizon guy? How about this? Okay. Hear me? Can you hear me now? Like the Verizon guy? How about this? All right. Well, welcome everybody to the live show. Doing something a little bit different today. We are coming. Let me get over here. Adjust that just a little bit. Well, that was difficult. So we are live.
What up, peeps?
We are live from Mr. Bond's house.
Yeah. Let's see. So we're looking at comments. Hang on. I'm going to get up. Do this one more time so we can see.
You can pop that out if you go to live chat. I believe you can pop it out to its own page. Go all the way to the top. Go to those three buttons. And pop out chat. It should open it in a new window, which will be all just the chat. Bada bing, bada boom. Excuse the technical difficulties. This is our first time streaming from here. Yeah, he's not the Verizon guy anymore. He is the Sprint guy.
What up, Shalene? How you doing?
Want to say what's up to Yeezy D Block. Thanks for always showing up like you do. Just because we see you. There will be no moderation that I can see yet. I don't see any moderators on here.
So, okay, even Gene, let's just jump into it. RJ Bond is throwing us for a loop with his theories. What theories? Mike Orange, yes, we saw the fight. You want to comment on the fight?
You know what? I thought it was about to be expected. Odds right at the end, it was 40-1 to 80-1. With a fight like that, you could expect an upset, but it wasn't likely that he was going to win the first 3 rounds. I like that Connor kind of was taking it to him like nobody else I had seen before. I didn't expect him to win, but he did tire out pretty quickly. And Floyd's a good boxer. He knows his stuff, and he won the fight fair and square.
All right, see, sit right down there. That's my voice carries. Um, Gunsmoke the Dawn. I've been thinking about it. Maybe I should grow back my mustache. Maybe my beard too. Do a manicure. Let's see. So RJ Bond's thrown us with his theories about Half Dead. Well, that's your opinion, throwing you for a loop. I'm not exactly how a letter that's been dictated by somebody who's involved with the killing indicts somebody else. Whatever problem is between them, the Pattons were the ones that indicted Little Half Dead. They're the ones who use his name, and they're the ones who gave a lot of information about things going on in the music industry that nobody actually knew at that time, or the significance of them. So, at the end of the day, I'm not throwing anybody with my theories. All I'm doing is I'm bringing information and evidence out that's out there, and you'd have to go back and watch the movie because we lay it out pretty well. If you haven't seen Tupac Assassination 3: Battle for Compton, don't know what to tell you about that. So watch the movie and then come back with it.
So we do have some breaking news on the rights that it seems nobody else has picked up on yet. Do you want to run with that, or you want me to attempt to explain it to the folks?
No, you can. I can jump in after that.
It appears that if you go on Pacer and you look up court records, it would appear that he has a sealed indictment. And what that could mean is a possibility of several different things.
It's not an indictment. The indictment's not sealed. There's been just a motion that's been sealed.
Or a motion that's been sealed. So there is sealed paperwork concerning Reggie Wright Jr. in this case. And we have an inside source who we're not going to name just yet. We're doing some investigating. RJ's doing some digging into it. But this could mean a couple different things. Typically, if you have his arraignment has been postponed, which means, and he has his papers have been sealed, so this could mean that he is potentially working a deal with prosecution. So there is a high probability that Reggie Wright Jr. will be turning snitch. He will be turning state's evidence.
Right. So here's how it works. We checked out Reggie Wright Sr.'s indictment, and he's got nothing going on other than the fact that his attorney has asked for some time off because he's got a funeral he's got to go to. So they've tried to push the hearing that was scheduled for September 8th on Reggie Wright Sr. to a little bit later, on maybe a Monday or a Tuesday, is what the attorneys asked for. And so there's really not much going on there. However, in the case of Reggie Wright Jr., what we've got is we've got a motion to the court, and the U.S. attorney has asked the court for something. But what they're asking the court for now is sealed. And the reason that you seal documents is that nobody else in the case, whether that be another defendant or the public in general, know what exactly it is that the U.S. attorney has asked the court to do, specifically as it pertains to Reggie Wright Jr. So, normally speaking, when these kind of things happen, and we've got an inside source that's kind of giving us the details about what's happening right now, and this is a reliable source. As these happen, the only reason you would keep a motion from other defendants and not tell them and that it's sealed is if it's something you don't want the rest of the defendants to know. And you got to remember, there are 18 other defendants in the Wright case besides Reggie Wright Jr. and Sr. There's 18 other people involved in this that are being indicted. So what would be a possible thing that the U.S. Attorney's Office would want to keep away from the rest of the defendants by sealing a motion that would involve Reggie Wright Jr.? And what our sources are telling us is that usually when that happens, it's a motion to extend time for his arraignment. He hasn't even copped a plea yet at this point. He hasn't pled guilty, not guilty. And so what they're asking you to do is they're asking you to push his arraignment out 90 days so that he has a chance to make his plea then. Now, normally speaking, when you make a plea, that means that you are telling the court guilty, not guilty. And if he's trying to work a deal right now with the prosecution, they're going to add another 90 days to it. But the motion is going to be sealed because whatever it is that Reggie is giving them to allow for that extension of 90 days, whatever that reason is, either Reggie's reason or it's the U.S. Attorney's reason, either way, that 90 days that they're asking before Reggie enters a plea, there is a reason for it. It's a documented reason, but we're not going to see it. Okay, it's being sealed. We're not going to see it. The public's not going to see it, and more importantly, the rest of the defendants in this case are not going to see it. And we all know what that means, like Jesse said.
Yeah, and there's not many reasons that this would happen unless it's to keep information from his co-defendants. And also, we found something kind of interesting concerning Reggie Wright Sr. It appears that Reggie Wright Sr. Is asking for, was it a leave of court to, I believe he's putting together a funeral. So
No. His attorney's going to a funeral. His attorney's partner died. He's going to a funeral, and the attorney, not Reggie Wright Sr., but the attorney, has asked the court to bump the September 8th hearing a couple of weeks so that he can attend to the funeral services and deal with that. And again, this is the thing. This is why we're coming to you. We're giving you this information because it's not a conspiracy if the court moves a hearing date. It's not a conspiracy if the court moves a location setting or a venue setting. However, it's problematic when motions start to get sealed in a case that are sealed for one defendant and not the other 18 defendants. So that is problematic. That's an area that needs further exploration. But again, basically with Senior, they've just bumped his hearing a couple of weeks. It's nothing earth-shattering about that. That's just pretty normal.
but the only conclusion that I can draw from the documents that we've not seen is that Reggie Wright would be rolling over on somebody. But I wouldn't get your hopes up that it would have anything to do with the Tupac case, because I don't believe that a federal charge would have any interest in a localized state murder. So for anybody hoping that it would be a turnaround, or him giving information about the murder of Tupac Shakur or Biggie Smalls, that is a slim to a 0% chance. Just wanted to say hi to Samantha, miss ya, and want to let you know that I hope you checked out the videos from the MGM. We did want to do a walkthrough, and I wanted to give you guys the best footage possible from the person that knows the most about the case. So if you were checking out those videos, we just wanted to take you there, showed you what it looks like on a fight week, and show you the locations and what they look like today.
Yeah, and so welcome, Mike. Glad to see Mohammed Mike there. Welcome back. There's a couple of people that are popping comments on there. Let's see here. Yeah, well, this ain't Mike. Let's let everybody just show by their merits what they're up to for sure. Like I said, um, Yeezy's been pretty cool with us. I don't know if he's talking to Sneak or not, and quite honestly, who cares if he is? I mean, this is all their information is going to be secondhand. We break stories. We get in there. We go to the locations. We talk to the right people. We break stories. The one thing that we're going to not do, and this is why we did go to Vegas and we were knocking around in Vegas, and we wanted to show you some scenes of some stuff that was going on so that you had some perspective about what was happening and what it looked like when Frank Alexander had to park his car or was going to park his car there, what the entrance to Club 662 actually looked like, because it's hard to visualize stories that people are telling without seeing it, without actually understanding what it is. However, that said, one thing that Jesse and I and our team are not going to do is we're not going to keep going back over old ground over and over and over again. I mean, Michael Moore is a pretty fished out story. He's a great guy, had a lot of great information, very helpful in the case. End of story. Same thing with Frank. You don't hear me bringing up Frank Alexander over and over and over again and doing 100 videos about Frank Alexander because, Frank, and he was one of my best friends. So, you don't see that. We're going to give you new information as new information comes out. We're going to try to get it in from the right people, understanding, who our sources are, and make sure it's there. But again, it's new information, not old information that's being recycled as new, but new information, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. And we just want to update you, and we know that there's a lot of people that are overseas that watch this. So, for the Americans that have been to Vegas and seen the events, I know that it's not going to be as special to you, but there are many people around the world who have never got to see those locations. So the whole point of that was just to, reach out, we're trying to keep the legacy alive, keep the murder of Tupac Shakur in the forefront in the case of Biggie Smalls, because these cases have not been solved yet, and we want to keep this fresh in the public's mind, and we just want to bring it to you straight. And I wanted to address something.
Shout out to the UK.
Shout out to the UK and to Illinois and the little kids watching there. But I'll tell you this: um, I don't want you to crowdsource anything. I don't want your money. I just want you guys to watch. And if the product that we're bringing you is not something that you like, then I understand that. But I don't want a dime from you. I don't want you to fund this. I'm doing this because I want to see the case solved. I don't need any meals. Now a lot of people have reached out and helped me out, and I do appreciate it. I do appreciate all the fans out there that like to see these live streams, but it's something that I'm starting to see more commonly. And there's links to my Patreon, but there's going to be no more asking for money. I think the eBaying thing is getting a little desperate, on multiple channels, not just Tupac channels. And I think, you know what, we're going to keep the essence of what YouTube is. We're going to give you free information, and we just hope that you know that it's done with a sincere heart.
Yep. Here's the thing, and I've said this time and time again. I've done 3 assassination movies now, and everybody wants to say, "Oh, how come you don't put them out for free? You put them on YouTube." Well, it costs money to get this stuff done, but as I promised the fans 10 years ago, I could have done a GoFundMe campaign like Reggie tried to do a couple of times with Lloyd Lake and all that, and Greg Kading tried to do and get a GoFundMe campaign and try to get everybody else and all the fans to prepay so that I can run around and do the things I want to do with somebody else's dime. I've said this time and time again. Look, I'm going to put out a video. If you like the video, buy the video. If you want to support what I'm doing, I'll put it out there. If you like it, buy it. If you don't. It's okay if you don't. It's not a big deal. And even now, in the days of YouTube for sale or rent, and Amazon Prime and Amazon for rent, you could rent the damn thing for $3.99. So if you want to support it, just rent the video. That's all. It's no mystery. You don't have to take me out to dinner. You don't have to buy me lunch. Let's just do, let's just do it. I mean, if you like what I put out, buy it. It's that simple. That's how movies are made. You go to the box office, you sit down, you see a movie. It's, you know, it's, you go buy a ticket for a movie. That's how they know what movies are successful.
Buy the ticket, take a ride.
That's right. So let's see what else here. Any help you need from the UK, the realist? I don't know. Do we want to?
Well, first of all, shout out to the UK. And
Yeah.
if you have any information that you want to bring to me, my email is jmixexclusives@gmail. So if you want to help out with information, that's absolutely cool. I appreciate the sentiment. But like I said earlier, no more e-begging. I don't need your money. We're going to do this out of love, and I don't want you guys to feel that every time that you click on one of my videos that I want your support. I appreciate every single one of you, and like I said earlier in the live stream, we just want to keep this fresh in the public's eye, and we want you guys to put as much pressure as you can on law enforcement to try to see some justice in this case. Now, for those that missed it, what's going on in the Reggie Wright Jr. case is apparently he has not even been arraigned yet. He has some documents that are sealed, and what that is doing, it's preventing his 18 to 19 other co-defendants from knowing what's going on. That
Right.
is a high indication of a deal being struck. Now, for those that think that there's going to be a deal struck concerning the murders, there is a very low probability of that. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. That's one thing we promised the fans that we would do, is keep it 100% real. And ultimately, as I do, that when these cases are done, it's the DEA, it's the ATF, the source we talked to made it very clear that the U.S. Attorney's Office is interested in further prosecutions here, but they are not interested in 20-year-old murder cases because, again, murder cases are largely state cases. They're not federal cases. And, I hate to sound like people are being selfish in this, but think about it for a minute. How does solving a murder case advance the career of somebody at the ATF?
Or the DEA.
Or the
for that
DEA,
matter.
right? It doesn't, if I'm the guy, I'm the agent working the case, providing information to a 20-year-old murder, yeah, it's nice, it's a pat on the back, but it's not really achieving the goals of what that organization wants to do. They're interested in alcohol, drugs, firearms, tobacco. That's it. Same thing with DEA. It's the Drug Enforcement Agency, not the Murder Enforcement Agency. So, it's the likelihood that the information that Reggie might be giving them is directly related to the murder is slim, but indirectly related, we might get a run at that. And the reason I say that is because if you watched Battle for Compton, you saw that we took you on the whole tour about the corruption, the drugs coming up from Mexico, the money laundering, and we've been saying, guys, this has been going on for 20 something years. This is what's happening. So if you take a look at what we put out in Battle for Compton,
Yes.
if Reggie's going to give up some information, guess what it's going to be about? It's going to be about drugs and how they've been getting their drugs.
Now, there is a slim chance. I mean, I don't want to take all hope away. There is a slim chance that if some of the information. Now, this is speculation. I want to make it clear.
Yes.
But this is a slim chance. There is a slim chance that there could be a possible RICO case. It just depends on the information he provides. Typically, the feds aren't going to get involved unless they can prove an ongoing criminal conspiracy. But I do want to say to those, and even our inside source said this, Reggie's probably not going to get off scot-free. Just because you make a deal doesn't mean that you get no time.
Hey, New Orleans, Tavares Mason, welcome to the show. Are you getting some of the flooding from the hurricane? Is that affecting New Orleans at all? Are you guys staying dry while everybody else is kind of sinking underwater in that area? Just curious. Hit me back. Let me know, man. To all our friends, by the way, to anybody that's in the Houston, San Antonio area that are being affected by the hurricane, we send our love out and our support, and we hope that you're doing well. We hope that you're staying dry and that the damage isn't too bad. Our hearts go out to you all, and if you've got family members down in that area, same thing applies there. So just want to just keep it real with the people out there.
And Class Soul, you said the fact I interviewed Hussein Fatal makes me a G. Look, I appreciate that. Hussein Fatal, for those who have not seen it, I recommend you go check it out. I asked him how he felt when Tupac died, and the guy almost hung up on me. I will say this about Hussein Fatal. That guy was a real one. He was a real street dude, and up until the day he died, he is one of the very few members of the Outlaws who actively rode for Pac. In this game, there's a lot of people, especially since the movie has come out, that would like to stake their claim in history. But I tell you what, there's a couple real ones out there, Castro being one of them, Storm being another one, and rest in peace to Hussein Fatal. He was a real guy, and you know what? It was a great interview. So I recommend everybody go check that out on the channel. And I appreciate your compliment.
Yep, and Reggie should just go into witness protection. You know what? It's not without the realm of possibility that he might, because that would certainly. But can you imagine what would he do for a living? He'd like Bob, the checkout guy at the grocery store. He'd be like the guy at the drugstore. You go, oh, hello, my name's Reggie. I mean Bob. I'm Bob, the checkout guy. Good night. Oh, you need nails over in aisle 5 at the Home Depot. So, yeah,
Reggie, there's going to be a cleanup in aisle 5.
yeah. Clean
Clean
up
up
in
in
aisle
aisle
5.
5. But God doesn't like ugly, and he also doesn't like spills on aisle 5.
Right.
So
He
I,
likes spills on aisle 5 a lot less because people can slip and fall.
but I will say that you know what, I've talked to Storm a couple times. She's very private. I do have a chance if she is willing to go public, but for the last 20 years she hasn't. The last statement she put out was coalesced with her song "Never Be," which is on YouTube. That is her YouTube channel, by the way. I believe it's Storm Outlaw Music. So if you guys would like to try to get in touch with Storm, that is the YouTube channel to go to. And when this live stream's over, we're going to go ahead and keep it up for you guys, just so you can get a taste of what we do every Sunday. And I'll put the description in the link once this is posted permanently. And if you guys have any questions for the next live stream, go ahead and drop a comment down in the comment section here, and we'll try to address those questions.
All right. So what do we think about the Hummer being sold? Um, Again, well, let's hope they can pay for it this time. The people couldn't pay for it. At the end of the day. I don't know. I go back and forth about this whole thing about celebrities things like it's so and so's old house. Jesse was just telling me about an old house of Ronald Reagan that Ronald Reagan, the ex-president, grew up in, and it's just a dilapidated old house. And then you think about it and you feel bad because this is like where a president lived and all that. But then you look at the house and you're like, oh God, it's an old house. So I mean, if somebody really likes Hummers, that's cool. The fact that it's Tupac's Hummers, it would have been a lot different if it had been like maybe something that he had, had some bigger involvement with. But I don't think how long did he have that Hummer?
Not very long. He had just bought it right before the Vegas trip.
Yeah.
So I mean, he might have drove it a fistful of times. Look, it'd be a great vehicle to own. Um, it's just overpriced for what it is. The thing about celebrity memorabilia is, I don't want to disparage anybody from wanting to buy it. It's just it seems to be overpriced in an oversaturated market right now. That's just my opinion on it. I believe Jay Crespo, you said where's the Rob Marriott interview? I haven't done one yet, but I definitely will reach out to him. Um, and Mike had said something about LT Hutton and give it to him for keeping it real. You know what? He did. He reached out to me because he watched my review of the film and he had a couple things that he wanted to set straight. And you know what? It made a lot of sense. And when you talk to a guy that spent the last 8 years of his life pouring his heart and soul into a movie, I'm interested in what he has to say. And being on the other side of certain types of production, I can understand a lot of points that he made. I'm going to try to reach out for a better, more structured interview because what I posted live was a phone conversation between us that he knew was being recorded. But it was mostly him getting some stuff off of his chest. But now that I have that content, which I will release at a later date, I kind of want to structure it to where I can sit down with him and really go over with a fine tooth comb his thoughts and concerns about the blowback from the movie. And much respect to LT Hutton, because just like he said to me in an email, you know what? Not many movie producers would actually reach out to a guy like me, a YouTuber, to defend his project, and I do respect him for that. Feel how you will about LT Hutton, but I do believe, no matter what you think of the movie, that his heart was genuine, and he tried to make a good project. But due to certain restraints, he couldn't. He is working on a director's cut of the movie, which would run, I think he said 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45 minutes, and I would be excited to see that.
Yeah, it's gonna have the confession letter in it. It's gonna be really cool. Just kidding. I don't. No, kidding.
Was the Hummer actually Pac's name?
Fart gun is back, kids. So, oh, by the way, because I never really did show this. This is the fart gun. All right.
That's the kind of show we're running, folks.
Yep. Okay. And by the way, we're okay. Yeah. And we're not. Again, this is the big thing about it. We're not. And I mean, I got dinged a little bit on the it's good for my health eating the Haagen-Dazs ice cream at the MGM. But here's the deal about it. Those murders happened 20 years ago. You can only investigate those murders for so long, and you're in a dark spot. So, honest to gosh, when we're walking around and we're doing things and we're checking out the old MGM locations and we're putting the video out there, we got to have a little bit of fun with it, because you can't be too serious about this stuff. You can be serious about new leads as they come in, but if you're going to old locations and you're going through them, it's okay to keep it light, and that's what we try to do. We try to make it so it's at least somewhat entertaining. Real quick, yeah, we have seen Biggie and Tupac many times. It's a good movie, and for its day when it was out, it had a lot of reach. A lot of its facts and stuff were really early on, but they covered a lot of ground, and they introduced the world of Russell Poole, and at the end of the day, that can't be bad, for sure. So.
And I did get a chance to talk to his son a little bit about the movie, and the movie oh my gosh, Labyrinth, the Randall Sullivan book that's made into a movie. I got to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, and I'm telling you what, guys, I'm super excited to see that movie. It looks really, really good.
Does.
I know that there's been a lot of movies that come out that don't look so good, and from what I've seen so far and what I've heard so far, Johnny Depp gives the performance of his lifetime in this film. So be on the lookout for that for sure.
Yeah, here's the deal about that. Johnny Depp has not had any real serious attention paid to him by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which we all know is the Oscars. Hasn't had a lot of stuff. He's done a great body of work, but he's largely been thought of as a character actor, and worse, he's been thought of as a TV actor. So he hasn't been given a lot of fair props like a lot of TV actors that have made the jump to movies and TV, like Bruce Willis. And in fact, he's kind of like Bruce Willis. Bruce hasn't been given a lot of credit either. But what's going to end up happening, what we hope, is that he's using this movie as an opportunity, playing Russell Poole, who was not a perfect individual, and using this to actually get that Academy Award nomination. If that's the case, he's going to work his ass off for it. So it's very cool.
Concerning the Hummer, there was a comment made about the Hummer. I don't know at the time of Pac's death whose name it was in, but I do know that it does belong. The last hands that it was in before it went to auction was Yasmin Foulis. I don't know who the paperwork and title is in now, but to the question, could you drive with the plate legally? Of course not. You'd have to go register and get your own plate. If you bought that car, you'd have to follow rules as if you bought any other vehicle.
Yeah, shout out to Haagen-Dazs. Jeff Keon says, I read an old LA Times article and it claimed Frank Alexander contradicted himself about being armed in Vegas. Well, I don't know if you're saying that the article, by what he's being quoted as saying, contradicts what he's saying, or whether or not the LA Times said that he contradicted himself. Because, in all honesty, the LA Times article that you read was probably written by a fellow by the name of Chuck Phillips. And Chuck Phillips was known for getting a lot of information not exactly right and being kind of a pundit for Death Row Records. So I would kind of take that very lightly, Jeff, in terms of um, uh, that. I mean, listen, Frank Alexander contradicted himself about the chain snatching, okay, and he admitted that to the cops that he had. As far as what I have been told, what was in Before I Wake, what was in Got Your Back, which dates all the way back to the late 90s, all the way through the many, many conversations that Frank and I had privately, publicly, in interviews, all the interviews that he had with that, as far as being armed and having the gardens taken away, there has never been a change of story there. Okay, just never been a change of story. So that's what I've seen. And if Chuck Phillips has said that, I don't know what to say.
As far as the bookkeeper, people are talking about the bookkeeper. In all the years that I've done this, I've never heard of the bookkeeper. I know who Highland is, and that guy is not exactly the most credible person in the world. I am in talks. I'm trying to get a hold of Dogman, who was actually the literal dog walker that was running the label for a certain period of time, publicly, I believe, while Reggie Wright was the man behind the scenes. So stay tuned for that. I'm working on a lot of stuff at once. I'm trying to give you guys, I'm trying to give you a lot of content, but I'm more worried about the quality of the content. I could pump out a video every single day, but I want to have a very definitive message about each video that I put up. Like I said, I'm not very comfortable in front of a camera. This channel is not about me. That's why we come on Sundays to answer questions. This channel is about Tupac, and the mission statement of this channel is just to get the people that knew Tupac to tell us what they know about Tupac.
Greetings, hey, 122, Dre, King Dre, Gino, good stuff, man. Yeah, pray for you down in Houston. That's what we said, man. I hope you guys are treading water. I hope all is going well. Like I said, um, we've got thoughts going out to everybody who's really in a bad way down there. This is going to be not ugly. Um, well, see, do we agree that the murder rap theory is falling apart even more? Well, the murder rap theory is kind of like watching, if I may, can I say this?
Absolutely.
Murder rap theory is like the Christmas story, okay? It's like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Every year, you're going to hear it over and over and over again. There's not a lick of truth to it, but people like to hear the story. So, just like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with the red nose and the flying around, taking Santa for the gifts, murder rap is going to be around. The Orlando Anderson theory is going to be around. They're going to continue to keep pushing that theory because it's popular and because it doesn't indict police officers and it has no downstream impact. It's a dead end. It's a dead end road like a cul-de-sac. You get to the end and all you got to do is turn around and go back out again. So that makes it palatable for certain people who like their meals pre-cooked for them and don't want to prepare their own food, and it's a dead end. But like I said, like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or the Easter Bunny story, there's people like it. It makes sense for some people. It's easy to understand, and it will be around. So, is it losing credibility? I think it loses credibility anytime we move forward with anything that's going on. I don't think it had any credibility to begin with. So the fact that it's falling apart, I don't think it was ever together to begin with.
I want to address Gene Deal and what he recently came out and said, but more importantly, what other people are hearing from Gene Deal. It's not new that Gene Deal has disagreed with the way he was portrayed in Murder Rap. That is not news. With what he said, alleging that Puffy may have had some involvement in the killing of Big, I feel that perhaps, and I would like to talk to the guy, but the right off the top of my head, my feeling is that Gene Deal might just have an axe to grind with Sean Combs. So it's hard for me to differentiate, and I'm not saying that Gene Deal is not credible, but it's hard for me on the surface to differentiate an axe to grind versus something that he's been holding back for a long time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add to you guys that being out in the LA area, being in California, talking to different people, especially in the production industry, people make the claim a lot that the streets know that Orlando Anderson did it. When the truth is most people that I've been speaking to, especially out here, they don't believe that. There's a lot of Russell Poole supporters out here, to the extent that it would surprise you. Now, it just, I guess it's who you would like to believe. If you want to believe the 20-year-old gangbanger on the street retelling a rumor, more power to you. But there's some professional journalists out here that have known about this case for a very long time that disagree wholeheartedly with it. So when someone says that it's falling apart, I just think it's funny that we have not heard from Greg Kading. The DJAG interview is an old interview. Ever since the Wright indictment was made public, I haven't heard anything from Greg, and I think at this time the silence is it's what's the word I'm looking for?
Definitely.
Deafening.
So check this out. Okay, on Eugene Deal, real quick, because the comments are flying in pretty quick. We'll probably have to rewind it a little bit and take a look at some of the comments. But here's what I know about Eugene Deal. Okay, I have a very good friend of mine who's another bodyguard for Bad Boy Records, working actively, who knows Eugene Deal. They're good friends. Went to a meeting with Eugene Deal when Eugene Deal met with Bad Boy Records and Puffy's managers, and they told him it was at the time he was actually going to try to put out the one night Eugene Deal night, or whatever the name of his video is, put it out commercially as a DVD out for sale. He was going to take all those interviews with this MREC TV and put it out as a commercial venture. They got warned off by Puffy's management, said if you even try to do this, we're going to basically own you at that point, and that was why it ended up being dumped on YouTube as a multi-part series. Is because this person was there at the meeting when that stuff was being said. Now, that said, Eugene Deal has an axe to grind against Puffy. There's baggage there. There's bad blood there. So it like Jesse said, it's a little hard to hear that, but I will say this about Eugene. I mean, Eugene has not changed his story in regards to certain things. He hasn't changed his story in years, and I still think he's a credible witness. Now, for him to say that Puffy's involved with it, I think a lot of people are taking this out of context. This is just my personal editorial on this, but I think a lot of people are taking this out of context. When Eugene Deal put out a video and saying that Puffy, the bullet was meant for you, wasn't for Biggie. Biggie wasn't meant to die. This is all on you. This is your fault. Okay, he's not saying that that Puffy was responsible in the murder rap sense, that he was behind it all, plotted and planned for this to happen. I really truly believe what Eugene is actually saying is that Puffy wasn't a very good manager, and he wasn't a very good administrator of events, and he looked out for himself before he looked out for Biggie. And what he's saying is, yes, you're responsible, no different than in a way Suge Knight or Reggie Wright was responsible for the death of Tupac Shakur. Even if they weren't directly related, Suge Knight's indirectly responsible because should have had his house in better order and protected his artists a little bit better, or not allowed that situation to happen. So when you look at what Eugene Deal is saying about Puffy, he could say, yeah, Puffy's responsible for Biggie's murder, and it's his fault and he hates him for it. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me, because he's not saying, hey, you're the trigger man, or you hired somebody to do it, or it was all, you planned it and you arranged it. It wasn't that. What he's saying is that Puffy was selfish, and that Puffy put out that, and this is what I'm getting from his videos, is that he's saying that Puffy's responsible in the more global sense of it, and he holds him accountable. And that's really important, because I think that's important for people to do. You got to hold people accountable for what they do, or what they
Absolutely.
don't do. You got to hold them accountable. So
And I just want to address the Gene, the Eugene Deal thing. Is, look, I respect him. I'd love to talk to him. What the commentary that I was making is just on the surface how I felt when I heard it. Now, if he would like to go into further detail, I would love to hear it. I'm just saying that on the surface, I wasn't sure what to take from that. But I will say that I am friends with him on Facebook. I've sent him several messages to talk to him. If you listen to my debate with Greg Kading, I actually bring up the fact that Greg Kading was misrepresenting Eugene Deal, and Eugene Deal has, like I said, been very, very vocal about that. So, I'm trying to work the angle, but he's had this relationship with MREC TV. Shout out to them. Go check out their videos. And I understand that. But as soon, like he told Terrell from 313, who's a friend of mine, check out his channel. But like he told Terrell, he's got to finish this up, and then he'll probably be talking more. And I'd love to speak to him about it. And I can understand DJ Gary about the DJ Quick thing, because I do feel that he insinuated that DJ Quick knew. A lot of people said that because DJ Quick was at the Peterson Museum, that was the blood presence, and a lot of people feel that way. I don't think personally that Quick knew, but you know
I
what?
don't know. DJ Quick's name comes up all over the shit. I mean, it comes up even back with the El Rey Theater murders. I mean, DJ
Oh,
Quick
well,
was in the thick
absolutely.
of it
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
So I mean, it's kind of it's always been DJ Quick's always been on Frank's and my radar. Honestly, because we don't know the guy, but first off, but his name is pervasive throughout the entire investigation. DJ Quick's name is in so many of the LAPD files and so many of the Las Vegas files. His name keeps coming up because somehow maybe it's his close association with Suge, maybe it's just circumstantial, maybe it means nothing. But at the same time, this guy's name is pervasive throughout. He seems to always be around when some scandalous
Well,
shit
he is
happens.
a well-known blood member. I mean, that is undeniable. And real quick, not to get us off topic, but Mike, I want to tell you, look, I'm real perceptive. I watch a lot of other people's videos. I got to do my homework. This is kind of what I do. I see the comments that people make, and you know what? People are entitled to say whatever they will, to whoever they want. As long as they're not coming on my show disrespecting me or the channel, you know what? Let people have their opinions. There's going to be people that go to different channels and say different things to different people. But you know what? I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that people should say how they feel. And if people want to change their opinion or change their mind, it's the same criticism that Frank Alexander got. He changed his mind. And if I can change a couple minds out there to get out of the narrative that what I believe to be the lie that Orlando Anderson killed Tupac, you know what? If it's only one or two people, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. By the way, so getting on DJ AG, I call it the AG TV. I call it All Greg TV because that's what the AG stands for.
Yeah,
All Greg.
yeah, no kidding.
All Greg TV. Anything you do with Greg Kading, he gets that. So, and again, he probably had an hour-long interview that he's cut into like 12 5-minute segments. Kind of doing the kind of stuff that what's his name Vlad does.
Yes.
Yeah, cuts shit into it. Makes it look like he's interviewed him forever, but it's really one interview. Um,
I think it's funny and it's kind of humbling, honestly. I see a lot of smaller channels. They use my name in their titles. They interview people to kind of take little shots at me. And you know what? I used to get upset about that, but now I understand why. Because usually you always want to bark up. You never want to bite down, or you always want to swing up. So I'm not mad at him. Let him build his channel. If it takes videos disparaging me to do so, that's fine. As long as he keeps it clean, you know what? I'll keep it clean too. But like I've said many times, anytime DJ AG wants to meet me and have a drink, I'd be happy to talk to him.
okay, so um, Mike Famey, I don't know what you're I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you can clarify a little bit on that. Who are we talking about? Gino Moten. By the way, is it Mouton or Mouton? How do you pronounce your last name, Gino? Let me know because I don't want to say it wrong. I look like an ass. Um, you kind of think that Tupac was killed by somebody that Suge saw and knows. What do you think about that? I think we spell that out in Battle for Compton. I mean, I think that if the Patton confession letter is true, Pattons were known Pyru gang members. Suge would have known what they looked like, would have known them by face. And I've said this at times, and maybe it's worth saying again. You got to realize something, guys. Suge Knight hasn't made a comment about who was the shooter for a long time, right? Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and he, made this big play on TV about how, if I'm going to be the guy, I let the police do their job. I'm not getting
Hmm.
paid to solve homicides. So he's put on this big cavalier front. But let's break it down for a minute into some practical terms. If you're the guy, and I'm here and you're here, you're the shooter, and you're going to shoot at me, okay? All right, you and I see each other. If I see somebody who's Orlando Anderson and he's the opposite guy and he's from the other team and he's a Crip and I don't like him anyway,
Hmm.
what's the harm in saying who he saw? First off,
Yeah.
because all he's going to do is strike a blow to the other side by getting that. Now, people are saying, well, that's because he was afraid of Southside Crips. Suge Knight wasn't afraid of anybody. At that time, he was the most powerful man in LA. He was afraid of nobody. And he had pretty much the whole city of Compton buttoned up. And, he could keep people in play there. Now, alternatively, for all of you at home, alternatively means another way of looking at it.
It's Mouton, by the
Okay,
way.
it's Mouton. Thank you. So now check this out. If you and I see you, all right,
Hmm.
and we're good friends, and I see that you just went and took a shot at me, and you also happen to be associated with everybody else I know that claim to be my friends,
Yeah.
who am I going to go complain to?
Well, if in the in retrospect, I mean, in the case of Suge Knight, I believe that you would complain to me, that you would take it to me. I believe that Suge Knight has survived as long as he has in the streets by keeping the code of no snitching. Say what you will about Suge Knight, but up until right before he went to jail this last time, Suge Knight has been rolling around the same streets with no security for a long, long time.
Right.
And I believe that that is because he has upheld a certain street code, which is no snitching. And I believe that if he saw who did it, and if it was someone who I believe that it was of his own gang, that he's going to deal with that internally and he's not going to publicize it. And it would be so much easier for him to, oh, Baby Lane, and throw it out there like that, because if you don't hurt your own gang set, what's the problem? It's like if you go to the Keefy D confession, what's the harm in blaming a dead guy? We have to keep.
What do we do with Saria's
I'm not 100% on that. But, I mean, what's the harm in blaming a dead guy? You know, Orlando Anderson's not going to go to prison. So I think, like I've said many, many times, it's very politically correct. It's the easy way out just to say, Baby Lane did it and keep it moving. But the same cops, I've said it before and I'll say it again, that were beat cops then, that were on the take then, are the same cops that are lieutenants now and captains now. And it's a serious ball game, people. And the reason that these cases are not solved, it's because it's going to it's going to peel back the scab of 20-year-old wounds.
Right. And again, what I was going with is I'm not saying that Suge would just snitch on an alternative gang member, although there's good reason if he wanted to that he would. But so let's say that that's true. Even more so, and my point is this: even more so, if Suge's thinking everybody's around him is faithful to him, loyal to him, and yet the shooters on the other side aren't just people that he knows; these are people that are supposed to be loyal to a gang. If your own people have it in for you, there's not a lot of people that you can even go talk to about it, because who do you trust at that point? And that was why I think Suge called all the artists in LA to sit down at a meeting and ask security about what happened, to find out what happened. I mean, Suge was genuinely trying to figure out the mechanics of not. He already knew who shot him. He knew who shot at him. He saw who shot at him. But if you want to know how that happened, who are these people and how that happened, then you start asking questions about how it broke down. So yeah, I think Suge knew who shot at him.
That's a great point. If Suge seeing who shot him, and you know why would he bring his whole group of people to talk to them? If he knew that it was Orlando Anderson, why would he need to ask all of Death Row security their thoughts and what happened? Why would he need to ask them?
Why wouldn't he just go hit back on Orlando Anderson?
That's right. But now let's flip that coin. Let's say Suge saw somebody he recognized. Then he would have a very good reason to start asking security, hey, what happened?
Well, snitches do get stitches, but you got to remember the army of people that Suge Knight had working for him up until they threw his ass in jail. Yeah, there was that, but it took a lot to get at Suge Knight. It would take a lot to get at Suge Knight. So, I do try to believe that, but we're talking about problem. Boy, these comments are flying by fast.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, all right.
We're just so you know, we try to keep these to about an hour, folks. We're at about 49 minutes in. So I want to run down. I think we should, if you would explain the Reggie Wright situation one more time. And
Okay,
then
I
take
will.
some
But first
questions.
thing, I'm going to take a real quick question about Saria and White. What will Saria take a polygraph test? Yeah, I've got letters. We just got a letter from Robert
Yep.
Surreal. We just got it yesterday, and he says hello to everybody. And he says, his comment is going to be, "Boy, is everybody going to have a wake up call when he gets out of prison because he will be getting out of prison." And there's a lot of really shitty things that have been said about him and that are not true. He just can't do anything about it right now. I think he's got 3 or 4 more years that he's in and that he's done. And but ultimately, he's saying, hey, people are going to be in for a big surprise when I get out. And so that's really important. He's motivated because of what he's hearing. So yeah, and he would be happy to take a polygraph test. He said he would take a polygraph test. So just so you guys know that. Okay.
And to answer you, Yeezy, you said, well, people say that's why the Bloods and Crips started a gang war after Pac's death. I wouldn't call it a gang war so much as an internal house cleaning. Because if you look at the death toll, if you look at who was killed in this retaliatory gang war, it's Bloods. It's like Conor McGregor versus Mayweather. It's 40 to 1 Bloods.
What Adam Johnson? You said did you get your poster? What poster? What poster was I supposed to get? Do you know
Oh
anything
yeah,
about
yeah. I'll
that?
talk
What?
to you after the
Okay. All right.
podcast.
Cool. Right on. All right.
It will be. It will, Adam. It will absolutely be delivered. Had an issue at the airport that I'll talk to you in private about as
Cool.
soon as this is over.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So that's it. All right. So um, let's see here. Okay, so we're gonna go over the Reggie Wright thing one more
Yep.
time, just for everybody, so we kind of keep this in perspective. This is a kind of a news flash, breaking headline. Um, we came across basically we got tipped off before we saw it on Pacer on the government's document filing system. We got tipped off by an insider that there was a rumor that Reggie was involved in giving up state information to the state, or what they call turning states evidence. What we found was that the United States Attorney's Office in Tennessee has filed a motion with the court to extend Reggie Wright's arraignment date 90 days, but he has asked that that motion be sealed. And the reason you ask something to be sealed is that no one can see it. And that includes not only us, the public, but that also includes other defendants, other people that would be equally tried with him. So, why would you file a motion to keep your reason for wanting to give Reggie some extra time to enter a plea? Why would you keep that away from other defendants in the case? And 99 times out of 100, that means that he is ratting out or turning state's evidence either against those people or turning other states' evidence out. So he's been given an additional 90 days, apparently, to appear and enter a plea. Now, if he enters a plea, generally speaking, when you're working a deal with the federal government, you give them the evidence, they see what the strength of that is. Maybe that so-called proffer session, like Greg Kading talks about how that works. You give up information, and they see what the value of that is to their investigation, and then they give you a reduced sentence. And I think the idea might be that if Reggie Jr. can give them a whole bunch of information, and in the next 90 days that turns into something meaningful, that by the time he actually enters a plea, he may enter a plea of guilty, and but there is with that a recommendation from the prosecution for a reduced sentence, no sentence, jail time, no jail time. None of us that are involved think that he's going to get away without doing any jail time at all, but it may be a substantially reduced sentence because these are generally 5 to 10 year sentences minimum, and so he may get a couple of years and have a chance to get back with his wife and kid again. But that's usually what happens when they give you an extension to enter a plea for it. In a lot of cases, especially in Los Angeles, you'll go in front of the judge, and the judge will actually ask you to enter a plea. And this works a lot with diversion programs.
Yes.
What you do is you go in and you enter a plea. You say, okay, I'm not guilty, and then they
No,
send you to a
no,
diversion
you
program.
plead guilty.
Right, you plead guilty, then you go into a diversion program, you complete the diversion program, you show back up, you change your plea from guilty to not guilty,
Hmm.
and then the judge says you're right, you're not guilty because you did the diversion thing, and then you get released. So there is a lot of stuff that can be going on there, but that is pretty big news, because it does talk about a change in the complexion of the case. So that's with that.
Smith Family Videos and Blogs. What's up? And
What's up?
what's up, man? We
So
appreciate you checking out the live stream. Um, we're thankful for everybody that, you know what, this has been a really good stream. There's been some really good questions. I did see a question from Matthew Strickland that asks, is Omar Bradley going back to jail? And you know what, that's a good question.
Oh
Um,
no, he's already served his time. That's what's so perplexing to me about the Omar Bradley thing. He's already served his time. He did. He was sentenced to 3 years. He did most of it, and then he went into a halfway house after that, and then he got his conviction overturned. So if he gets pled guilty, I mean, what more time is there to do? Because they already found him guilty, and they gave him a sentence, and he served the sentence. What more jail time is there to do? You've already paid the crime. The only thing that they really wanted to get that conviction for, let's just put it out there, is because that prohibits him from running for mayor again. And at the end of the day, that's what Eric Paradin and everybody else that didn't like him and were politically opposed to him, that's what they wanted. They just didn't want him to ever be the mayor of Compton again. So they took away his ability to run for mayor by giving him this conviction.
this is a political conviction. It's dirty ball, and they play it a lot in politics. It's almost like watching an episode of House of Cards. What
Yeah.
they're doing to Omar Bradley. You would think that the statute of limitations would have expired. You would think that double jeopardy would be in play with
Right.
this, but you know, in my opinion, it's a travesty of justice. Shout out to Abel. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your contribution to the channel.
Yep.
Um, you know, and even more, I appreciate you checking out the live stream. If
Yep.
it to help us out even more, just tell your friends. We do this live show typically every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We just want to get the message out to the crowd. Um, as much as I do appreciate your donation, guys, it's not about the money. We just want the truth, and we want to see some justice done. There's been a lot of people that have lost their lives telling the truth, trying to put the truth out there. It's destroyed families. It's destroyed careers. You wonder why you haven't heard from certain players.
Bakerfield.
Yeah, it's because you know what? This is a taboo subject, and it costs a lot of people a lot of things to come out and actually tell the truth. Because you're not just fighting word on the street; you are fighting the powers that be.
So, okay, so have we interviewed QD3 or Kadada? Kadada hasn't given up any interviews at all. She doesn't like to talk about it, and I understand that. There's been enough people that have kind of talked around her about it. And as far as QD3 goes, not really sure exactly what he would have to add to the conversation. I mean, there's a lot of, yeah, dead life, dead life. I would, but, well, talking, we're two dads, so we can say that. Listen, there's people that have opinions all day. I mean, we could talk to, you know, name it. I could have talked to Quincy Jones and asked his opinion about it. People can have opinions. I really, and officially, I don't know QD3, so I don't want to take it like it's this bad thing or anything like that. But I don't really care what QD3 thinks about anything. He doesn't have any information that will lead to the arrest or conviction of somebody in the killings. So, I mean, and if he did, he's sitting on it. And he's not one to give it up. So at any rate, I mean, there's no real reason to have an interview with him.
You know, I would like to talk to QD3 about his work on the Machiavelli album. I just to talk on the talking point. From what everything I've been told, QD3 pretty much had Machiavelli mapped out,
Yeah.
and Tupac scrapped it. He went to the whack room and the producers there, and he wanted a different sound. He wasn't happy with that arrangement of the album. I'm not gonna say QD3's production, but he just wasn't happy with the arrangement of the album. So I would love to pick his brain about that. But as far as like RJ said, the the murder goes, I don't see QD3, even if he did have knowledge, just because of the public persona of him and his dad. If he had some real dirt, I don't foresee him risking any kind of scandal to say it publicly, especially not on a YouTube channel.
Yep.
And I'm just being honest with you guys.
Hey, great question from Chris Canfilm. Keisha, and welcome to the show, Chris Canfilm. Keisha, Pac's ex-wife, any public account? Yes. I have a big interview with her. Unfortunately, it's not connected to a project that I own. I've seen it. I've seen what she has to say. I actually have a copy of it. But as happens with probably 35 hours of interviews that I have, they're connected with some other projects that we've done, we've edited, we've put in the can, and they have not seen the light of day. Like, for example, Atron Gregory's Tupac, the early years. I am dying for people to see that so they could see the interviews and they could understand what's going on in that movie. It's so good and it's so important. But I don't own that. Atron owns that. I don't own it. I love Atron like a brother, but he's got his own mind about what he wants to do with the movie. He's made a couple of different attempts at getting it distributed. He's got to deal with it on terms that he's accepting of. I have no control over it. You guys would have seen that movie already if I had control over it. It'd have been out 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But the interviews of Jesse's seen it.
Yeah, it's
The interviews
great.
are there,
It's great.
and with they added the interview with Keisha that was done just recently for it. I can tell you that what she had to say was actually directly related to the quad shootings in 1994.
There's a lot of information in that movie about the quad shooting that a lot of people do not know. So I'm not trying to tease you. Sorry for cutting you off, RJ. But yeah, the early years is a very, very special project, and it's just as excited as RJ is. I'm excited for you guys to see it as well. So I hope it does land its distribution deal very, very soon and very, very quickly.
Yeah. So you know, Thug Angel. I don't know if I agree. It was a great movie. I mean, it was all right. It was okay. I think it painted Tupac in a bad light, and I think it was a little biased to one direction of his personality. You can't paint a person with one brush. Tupac was a very complex individual, and I think trying to paint him in any one corner or bringing out one part of his personality, I think really did him a disservice. So, Mike, I don't know when Atron's going to release it. God, I wished I knew. I'd be a lot more content as a human being if I could figure out what Atron's strategy is. We talk from time to time. I know he's working on something right now, but we'll see. And there's even talk as to whether or not they're going to be the same interviews or they're going to re-interview people again. It's just it's kind of up in the air, and that's what happens. And that's why with me, when I get a movie started, I get it out and put it out. So that's that.
What up, Terrell? Terrell from 313 Live Show. Everybody go subscribe to his channel. My
What up?
condolences for your recent loss. Um, I hope to talk to you soon, man. I know you've been going through some stuff. But what up, Rel? We appreciate you coming on the live stream. As to the question about Chris Nassif, and Nassif is how you say it, sorry, and the story he told about Tupac and Snoop about the incident. I can't say it because YouTube will flag it. But that incident I have heard from multiple sources that apparently there was, and it's a rumor, but Chris Nassif, he had no motive to lie to me. He was kind of apprehensive about doing that interview because he does still work in the industry, but it's something that he felt needed to be publicized. And what he said in that interview is what Suge Knight said to him. So take from that what you will. I know Suge has said some crazy stuff, but I will say the Tupac and Snoop rumor that you guys are talking about, that is not the first time that I heard that. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. I thank you for the support. Like I said, just tell your friends about the live show. That's all we want is just to get the truth there. But I appreciate your contribution to the channel. Thank you, sir.
Let's see what else. It's kind of funny because we were saying we were wrapping up, and I'm starting to watch. Suddenly, more
Go ahead.
people are jumping on
Go
the
ahead.
stream, so it's kind of funny. Um, all right, so okay, now, let's not bash QD3. I mean, I the comments and theories go back and forth. Let's stay on topic. Um, let's see.
You don't want to know about the movie? You want to comment?
Well, let's do a survey. How many people want to see a new screening of Battle for Compton? If we streamed it, how many people want to see it again? I mean, I kind of like, well, I don't want to force anything down anybody's throat, but if somebody's asking, the question would be, let's get some feedback. Who would like to see Battle for Compton again? If we put it out there, you guys want to see it again? We can run it next week. If that's what we want to do, we'll run it next week. You know.
As for All Eyes on Me, I did a video where I expressed my initial reaction to it. I've seen it a couple times since then. I think there's some nuances in the movie that might have been missed during all the controversy. Um, what I feel about the movie is, uh, it's kind of changed a little bit since I talked to LT Hutton because LT had told me that he originally pitched the All Eyes on Me movie as like a Godfather Godfather trilogy. And when you go back and watch the movie again, you'll notice that some scenes it kind of jumps from this time period to this time period to this time period. What L.T. Hutton told me was, we would have loved to tell everybody's story, but if you start telling everybody's story, it stops becoming the Tupac movie and it starts becoming the everybody else movie. So I would, I have a newfound appreciation for it that maybe the perspective has, I've gotten a new perspective on it. So I recommend everybody check out the Blu-ray. I know that LT is pushing for an extended release, and I would be very excited to see that. But I do know, as well as RJ does, that distributors sometime, and especially theirs, they made them cut that movie down to a 2 hour and 20 minute running time.
Yeah,
Uh,
and sometimes you can lose some stuff. I mean, you have to make a big decision on what stuff you're going to lose, and that's tough because sometimes the stuff you lose is actually really important. I had to fight with our distributor to try to keep it at 2.5 hours. They wanted less than two, so the extra half hour. Can you imagine Battle for Compton with a half hour less information? By the way, did we put the uh, Conspiracy Revenge the soundtrack? Did we ever do anything to put that out or stream it or do anything like that?
Not the whole thing. I put a track or two out, clips at the beginning of live streams.
Okay.
Just track 2 and 13.
So check this out. Battle for Compton had a sound. Oh, not Battle for Compton. Assassination, Conspiracy, Revenge had a soundtrack. It was a bomb soundtrack. It was really good, and maybe we'll stream that or put that out because there was some really good tracks involved with putting that out.
Well,
But
here's the thing, Mike. I want to address that. Check out the Blu-ray. You wouldn't buy that. Listen, whether or not you think it's a good movie, if you love Tupac, don't you want to see his legacy continue? If we all just bash it and just, I'm gonna buy that Blu-ray regardless because I'm a Tupac fan. I want to see. I own every Tupac DVD and Blu-ray, no matter what it is. Um, you know, just for as a collector, from a collector standpoint. But yes, Mike, and you're a good friend of mine, so I don't just take this in the way that it's intended. I'd like to see a new cut of the movie. So hopefully, the extended scenes might make it a different viewing experience. And I'd like to say, once I put out the LT Hunt interview, I think maybe a lot of people look through a different lens. I'm trying to give him a fair shake because I said that I would, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible. Now, after I talked to him, I re-screened that movie, and I did look at it through different eyes. And I think with someone like Tupac, if they couldn't get a 3-4 hour odyssey or a 2 or 3 part series, then you know what? At the very least, what the movie did is it at least allowed the younger generation to kind of get a glimpse of what Tupac is. Now, look, as it's hard to look at that movie through the lens of a fan, but I have to say, it was better than the Notorious movie. But I would be real excited to see an extended cut, and I'm gonna support it just because I'm a Tupac fan, and I'd like to see more projects. There's buzz about a Death Row movie. I would like to see that. I don't always agree with Daz Dillinger, but I would watch the DPG for Life movie that he's always talking about. I don't know if that's in production,
who would want to watch that?
but I would watch it. I would watch it just to see, what they would put in it.
Let's
But
see.
but you know what? I will agree that LT is one of those subjects um, where people may disagree with me or agree with me. It's controversial. Did I expect a better showing? I did. Of course, I'm a fan. I wanted to see the greatest movie in the world, but we didn't get the greatest movie in the world. So I think we need to take it for what it is.
Um, did you have any information or knowledge of Tupac or Reggie Jr. having any beef or squabbles? You know what? What I can tell you, and it's a great question because what I can tell you, and I hadn't really given it a lot of thought, but I can just go through my mind different things that I know. Um, First off, if you look at the whole situation that happened at the MGM with the bodyguards going back and forth and changing the bodyguards back and forth, and Tupac calling and saying, "Hey, I'm paying for this shit. I'm paying for you. I'm paying for you." So clearly he was already aware that there was a problem with security arrangements. But I think I can take it a step further, and I am extrapolating a little bit based on talk that Frank had, but you got to remember, you know that the bodyguards didn't want to work with Tupac.
Yeah.
Frank made that very clear in several interviews. Bodyguards did not want to work with Tupac because Tupac was kind of a liability.
Kenny Archer didn't like him either.
No, Kenny or Michael Moore didn't like him, and the reason Michael Moore didn't like him was because I'm sorry, it was Les Golden had a falling out with Tupac because he asked him to go get a gun, and he wanted to go get a gun that was an unregistered gun, and it wasn't through legal channels, and Les Golden didn't want to do that. So there's a lot of animosity there. And so if Tupac was a security problem and he had a distrust for death row security, aka right way security, then you better know there was a problem between him and Reggie Wright. So, whether or not it was a personal issue or whether or not Tupac just thought security were a bunch of joke or whatever the case might be, Tupac was never shy about saying what he felt to somebody and telling them what he felt. So I would bet, if I had to bet, and again it's a guess, but if I had to bet, Tupac probably had a word or two to say to Reggie Wright about security or to Suge about security. So, did he have a beef with it? Sure, security didn't want to work with him, and I think Tupac felt the feeling was mutual. So that's the best I can answer that question for now, but I'm definitely going to think about that a little bit more. So what do we got there?
Um, I want to address Mike. Mike, you know what? And like I said, we're all not always going to agree about the movie. Um, I'm taking it for what it is. Um, I agree with All About Asia by saying
I
that,
didn't like it. I didn't like it. But
okay,
that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, right? That's the point.
but
I don't like
and
it.
that's another point too. But I agree with All About Asia that no movie can mess up his legacy because his legacy is solidified in a sense. And to RJ's point, here's the thing: is this channel and me and RJ, we're not looking for an echo chamber. We don't want you guys to come on here and applaud us and agree with everything we have to say. Listen, you don't get any smarter by talking to people that agree with you. You get smarter by debating people that have different point of views than you. So, you know what? We don't all have to have the same um, outlook on life, and we don't have to have the same opinion on Tupac's life and even Tupac's murder. But as long as we're talking about it, that's all that matters.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. We got to go there. I don't like how Frank was portrayed either. When they said that Frank flashed and said he was with the
No, that was
LAPD,
hilarious.
he was an LAPD cop. I mean, that sent me over the edge. It was one of those head palm kind of things. So I don't think Frank was done well at all in that. Didn't Pac ask where Michael Moore is? Yeah, there was a lot of confusion during that time because what had happened was they didn't have radio, so they couldn't contact each other. They had to go to landlines to try to call each other. And the only place you're going to contact somebody by a landline is if they're actually in their room. The hour that it takes to walk from the casino floor out to where your hotel room is, it seemed like forever when we were at the Hard Rock.
Oh
That was
wow,
like that.
yeah.
It takes freaking forever. You're probably to get to your hotel room in most casinos in Vegas. You're a half hour invested each way. It takes you a half hour almost to walk up to your hotel room, especially if you're in one of the big towers. Because if you're standing at the other end of the hotel, it could take forever. So, yes, there was a frustration there because they got confused. Michael Moore was supposed to go change his clothes. Then Frank was going to go change his clothes, but then Michael Moore got told, "You're not going to be on Tupac. You're not supposed to go." So yeah, Pac was asking what happened to Michael Moore during that time, and Frank didn't have a good answer for it, and he called Reggie and said, "We got to deal with this." So there's definitely Pac was asking about Michael Moore. Yes.
I'll finish the talking points about LT Hutton. Listen, this is all I have to say, and you have a little bit of validity in what you're saying, um, Supreme, about LT Hutton. Look, I'm trying to give him a fair shake. I stand by what I originally said about the movie, but I want to clarify. When he opened my eyes to some things that I didn't know, and I watched it from a different perspective, and I can understand his struggle and plight. But I think that we have to keep in mind that movie wasn't necessarily made for guys like me. But I think it's a hard place to be in because no matter what the project was going to be, I think a lot of people would have disagreed with it. I will say it again, and I will say it for the final time. Would I have liked to see a better movie? Yes. Was I completely satisfied with the movie? Yes. Did LT open my eyes to reasons why it wasn't as good as it could have been? Absolutely. So, I'm waiting to see if an extended cut comes out that makes it any better. And I'll be honest with you guys. If it's not any better, I'll be the first to let you know.
And that, what, somebody just brought up a real good point about Jada Smith. Okay, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit on a live show. Excuse me, a while back. The you know, Jada Smith came out and did this whole big thing and railed against L.T. Hutton, railed against the movie about it wasn't accurate, it wasn't accurate, it wasn't accurate. And then she turns around and drops on the public this bombshell. She's supposed to be some sort of a drug dealer, and that she made her living and went to the Performing Arts Academy selling drugs. I mean, that's what she said. I'm not saying it. That's what she said. She said that publicly, which I don't think is much of an admission. I think it's kind of a shitty thing to say, especially if you've had fans and they've been paying for your movies and they've been watching your work and been fans. That you tell them, hey, the way I got to where I am is by giving people drugs and ruining families and doing all that stuff that drug dealers do and breaking the law. But that's okay now because that was so long ago. We can just forget that happened, and I'll just go back to my multi-gazillion-dollar mansion and go stay there. But if you consider the source, maybe if Jada's lied about her past and hasn't told things about her past and comes out and says she's
Yeah.
scandalous, then and she's putting down the movie, I don't know,
How's it
maybe
supposed
yeah,
to be accurate?
yeah. I mean, what she wasn't accurate herself, so it kind of goes back and forth. There's definitely two sides to every story. Um, let's see.
I want to say thank you to Daphne, Dominique, all about Asia. Special thank you to Samantha out there and Riley Ann and Riley and all the ones watching. Um, go ahead, RJ. I mean,
Oh, I'm looking at it. I've actually gone back and forth just so you guys know, and I'd love to know what your guys thinking of on this. Would you guys go see a Digital Underground movie? If I did a Digital Underground movie, would you guys do it? Would you buy it? Would you see it? We can't know if it's a documentary or a docudrama at this point, but I've been talking with Shock G and Atron about whether or not we want to do it, and we're just kind of on the fence about whether or not people
thank
would
you.
really want to see it or not. So just feedback here for a minute. I'd like to know if just wondering out loud. That's all.
If D and Sunny are watching it, shout out to them.
Thank you, Ataz. I've been getting hit a lot these past few weeks. I've been getting hit by a lot of trolls, so it makes it nice to hear somebody say something nice. Thank you very much. For sure. Yeah, well, there's a lot more to Digital Underground than just what they showed in All Eyes on Me. There's a lot more to it than that. Shock is a cool guy. He's a awesome guy. Um, and it was his birthday a couple days ago, so happy
Yeah.
birthday to Shock. Um, let's see what else. Depends on how the trailer looked. Well, at least that's an honest comment. I mean, at least he's
Yeah.
being honest, right?
Super and keeps it
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
I am very entertained by his comments.
Yeah. So I do. I embrace. You know what? You're right, Rel. I embrace the trolls. It's all part of doing what you do.
In my Terrell voice, they give me the energy to keep on grinding. I love it. It makes me all excited.
There you go. So, um, okay, and Gary Jones. Will this case ever find an ending? Welcome to the show, Gary. I haven't seen you on here before, so let's go out there. Okay, I'm gonna just. I've been doing this 10 years. Battle for Compton. One of the things we said in Battle for Compton is to answer your question, the case can still be solved if you can remove the noise. And it's like having a good piece of audio with a lot of static in it. If you can get rid of the static, you can have a clean audio, you'll hear the message. But until you clean up the audio, until you can get the noise out of the way, until you can get the false narratives out of the way, you can get the bullshit CIA stuff out of the way. When you get all that stuff out of the way, you get right down to the facts. You get right down to the fact that there was a letter written by a person who confessed why he did. We got to find out. But at the same time, we do have that. We do have facts, and I believe it is solvable. I think we can get to it. Now, solvable and conviction are two completely different things. the police can close a case as solved and say we know who did it, and then they close the case. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to end in a conviction, because again, let's say the Pattons were the guys. Let's say that they were. Let's say they did it. Okay.
I think they did.
Well, in the court system, we have a system where you're allowed to confront your accusers.
Yes.
You are allowed to confront witnesses. You're allowed to do that. Now, so many witnesses have died
Yes.
that no matter who that person was, let's say it was Orlando Anderson, and they could resurrect his old ass and bring him back with the bones and put him up on the stand. Even that corpse would have the right to be able to interrogate witnesses, to cross-examine witnesses, to try to see if there's anybody that might help their position and see if they're innocent. And once you remove that ability to confront witnesses, you really can't prosecute a case. And that's really the essential part of the problem. It's not whether or not there's evidence to convict a person. That's not the point. It's not whether or not they've got a clear case, it's a compelling case. The problem is that if there are witnesses that exist that said it was a white Cadillac, and those witnesses are dead, then a person who is driving a white Cadillac can't confront those witnesses in court. And by virtue of the fact that they can't confront those witnesses, that basically stops any prosecution from going forward. So, will the case see closure? Yes, I think it will. Can the case be solved? Yes, I can. Will the case lead to a conviction? I'm highly doubtful.
Well, the best case scenario that they would have is a confession. With being, like RJ said, being able to face your accuser. And I think the best case they would have to prosecute is someone confessing to it and maybe saying where the murder weapon is. But we've seen someone allegedly confess to a crime and nothing came of that.
Okay, so Jeff Kean, what I'm screaming is why hasn't there been as much as an arrest? Well, again, the problem with an arrest is that you need to have compelling. If you can't just go around arresting people. When you arrest people, there is a what they call an arrest warrant, which means that somebody has to go to the court and they have to make a case to the judge to arrest somebody. There are certain kinds of arrests for certain kinds of crimes that the police can just do, like if they arrest you for having a suspended driver's license or they arrest you in a fight. Those are certain classification of crimes. But for other kinds of crimes, murder being one of them, there still has to be the paperwork that goes through that says that there is a reasonable chance, just like a search warrant, that there's a reasonable opportunity and reasonable chance that this person will be convicted of that crime. And if you don't have that, then you can't get an arrest warrant. No judge is going to sign off on it if you got a bunch of bullshit facts. So the reason there's not an arrest is because there's not an arrest warrant. And the reason there's not an arrest warrant is because a police officer or a district attorney has to swear to certain things in an arrest warrant. And that's what Tim Brennan did back in the day when they did the search warrant. But he lied about a bunch of stuff in the search warrant, I believe, anyway. It's my opinion. But that he said things. Well, I know for a fact he lied because he misstated all kinds of information in that search warrant about that Tupac and Suge were in the first car and all that kind of nonsense. So I'm rambling, but at the end of the day, the reason there's not an arrest is because the police are not putting up an argument that a judge will buy. That's it. That's as simple as it is.
313, definitely, man. That MacBook Pro looks slick. I just watched your new video explaining that you're upgrading your stuff. Can't wait to see your new stuff. I've seen some of your setup. I recommend everybody go check out 313, the live channel. It's that guy here in the chat, man. Just click on his name, go subscribe. To Damien, I'm sorry, Damon. Can anyone contact CNN and try to get the full interview with Orlando Anderson? Now I can't make any promises because it's Hollywood.
We were promised that interview. We didn't get it, but we were promised that interview.
Well, we were told that it would come out when another project came out. So they
Right.
haven't failed to provide it yet. But Hollywood, a lot of people tell you what you want to hear to get what they want out of you, and then maybe they don't uphold their bargain. But we will see. I know the person that has it. I know the person that did it. So I was promised that exclusive, and you know what? We'll see. Hopefully that will be posted in full right here on this channel. But I can't make any promises because promises are hollow, especially out
Right.
here.
Podcast, I can't have the police go arrest your sixth grade teacher because I don't think you really want them to. I think you guys are still talking to each other, so I don't want to be guilty by association there. Let's see. Please answer. Does anyone have the full interview? Oh, you just answered that. Okay. Da, 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 da. Um,
Jeff, the thing about providing the proof is it's in police department's best interest to cover up police involvement in these crimes. The murder rap task force was made of a bunch of D League cops, and when I say D League cops,
yep.
all those cops on that task force had disciplinary files on them. They were all what you would.
Most of them have been suspended at one
Yeah.
time. I mean, these guys were a problem. They were like the Suicide Squad for the LAPD. I
Yeah,
mean, these
these
guys
weren't
were a bunch of
the cream of the crop
yeah.
by
They
any
were
means.
they were definitely like the B League team for sure.
And it was in response to Valletta Wallace's civil suit against the LAPD. If you look at the Valletta Wallace civil suit, what did she allege? She alleged that there were LAPD cops involved in her son's death. Now, it would go against LAPD's own self interest to do an investigation and find out that there were dirty LAPD cops involved. So, when you put that in perspective, that's why I can't trust the murder rap theory, and that's why it's going to be real hard to see justice unless there is a complete shakeup, or like Russ Poole had once said, that you get the case out of LA or Vegas. You get the cases out of these jurisdictions, and maybe we can see justice. I hope for it. And with the arrest of Reggie Wright, I was very excited that maybe we would hear something that would lead us down that path. And we still may. But as of right now, it appears to be that this guy is going to start rolling around on the ground, flopping like a fish pretty soon.
Okay, so let's talk for a minute about the idea here about about cops and all that. You got to understand something, because I agree with you on this. I agree that we had the information. We've got this. I thought Tupac assassination battle for Compton stuck the landing. I felt like it just nailed it, and that was as close as I was going to get, as close as anybody I knew was going to get to what was going on with the truth. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, the cops there that are involved with it, we went to the LAPD. Russ and I went to the LAPD. We took the confession letter up to the highest brass at the LAPD. Okay? And regardless of whatever happened or transpired, that freaking letter got leaked by the Los Angeles Police Department. I could post the emails up where their own detective admits that they leaked the letter. They leaked it. So why do you leak the confession letter? Now, see, the idea that Russ and I had when we went to go to do the confession letter, when we went to go and actually take it to the LAPD, was because we hadn't put it out in the book. It wasn't released publicly. Nobody knew about it. And it gave an opportunity for 2 or 3 people that were named people in this letter, that if the LAPD wanted to go and pay them a visit, even to ask them questions about it, they would have caught these guys napping, because number one, Little Halfdead had absolutely no idea that the Pattons had given him up.
Yeah.
No idea that the Pattons had given him up.
Because if he did, we probably wouldn't have seen a cover like on Dead Serious.
Right, exactly. So when you've got these guys going out and ratting out Little Halfdead, and they talk about their own situation, I think even the Pattons had figured that letter had fallen off into obscurity, and just like a lot of people do, 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, you're thinking about what you're going to do the next day.
You're not. Yeah, exactly. And most people think that that's ancient history.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jerry Sandusky and other people, they think that these things that they did 15, 20 years ago, like most people do, they think, oh, yeah, I'm moving on today. That's old. That's not going to be around. It's not a big deal. But at the end of the day, when we took that confession letter to the LAPD, we had a great expectation that the LAPD was going to actually do something with it. They had a unique opportunity. Well, yeah, and they had a unique opportunity to do something that they had never been able to do before. They could have interviewed people, whether or not it was true. They could have interviewed them and they found out it wasn't true.
Yeah, there wasn't even time for that.
No.
What was the time frame between you and Russ taking that letter to the LAPD and it hitting online?
A few weeks. And again, but at the same time, why was it leaked? The reason the letter was leaked was to give them notice that this letter was out, that we had the letter, that they had been outed,
and to spin it their own way.
Well, not just that, but to give them time to circle their wagons.
Absolutely.
Now, if you know somebody's going to come after you, the next time the police knock on your door, you know what it's about. You at least have a good idea what it's about. Half these cats could have been about 10 things.
You flush the toilet.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
So that was why it was leaked. So, you know, why are the police? I mean, the police worked against us. They leaked a letter out there. So it's just, it's just a bad scene. But that's part of the reason why.
And I want to add, I've said this before previously, but when has ever, I mean, and think about this very, very hard, with the exception of a couple incidents, when has something been leaked from for the good of society?
Right. So, so here's the deal.
Usually things are leaked with a personal axe to grind. And I won't name any names, but you may have seen leaked stuff on the internet yourself.
Yeah. So let's see here. Man, these comments are racing by so fast I can't keep up with
We don't want to, we don't want to get stuck.
them. No. Well, Damon Brown, you could say Anton Beatty discredited the Tupac assassination film. The only thing that Anton Beatty has ever said, and by the way, I talked with Anton Beatty. I talked with him just the other day on the phone. We talk. We have long since uh, crushed and squashed our beef. We talk all the time, and I have respect for him. I have respect for what he was doing, and I'm the first one to admit that the only thing Anton Beatty ever said about the assassination movies was that Suge Knight didn't do it. He didn't necessarily say that Reggie Wright wasn't involved. He didn't. He came out and just said that the idea of Suge being in the car was crazy. And so he didn't discredit the assassination movies because you can't discredit facts. Facts are facts. You can't discredit them. You can discredit a conclusion or you can discredit part of a conclusion, but you can't discredit the facts. And so what he did is he came back on there, and I was one of the first ones when we changed our direction. And Russ wanted to talk with Suge, and we wanted to talk to him about what we had found and the new information we found that changed our lives. Anton Beatty was one of the first people that I reached out to, and we talked about it. So, to sit there and say that Anton Beatty discredited the assassination films, no, he didn't. He didn't discredit. What he did was he disagreed with one of the conclusions that we had drawn, and we really hadn't drawn a conclusion because we said that Suge Knight had motive, and he certainly does, and he still does, but that he was a part of the plan or may have been part of the plan. We didn't even say in the movie. I'll release the whole transcript of the movie. We never once said in the movie that Suge Knight had anything to do with it. We said that he was there and he got shot, and that he may have had motive, but that's as far as we took it.
Well,
So to say that, it's just kind of that's kind of a, I'm sorry, but I kind of take offense with that because
I hope that's not a ray gun from the CIA.
yes. Oh, by the
But
way, yes, we have found the heart attack gun used by the CIA to allegedly kill Afeni Shakur and some others, and this is the official CIA heart attack gun. Because when
be
you hear
careful,
this,
RJ. Nobody can take a joke anymore.
when you hear this, you are getting sleepy.
Um,
You are gonna have a heart attack.
but what I will say about Anton Beatty, at least Anton Beatty's criticisms were coming from a well thought out place. My only bone to pick with Anton Beatty is, Anton, if you're listening to this, give me the other half of the debate. But I think, and you know what, I'm not going to speak for the man because I respect the work that he did. But I think maybe this far down the road, even Anton himself has got a little taste of the real Greg Kading. And the real Greg Kading is not the guy you see on the DJ AG interviews. And that's all I'll say. I don't want to get vindictive and I don't want to come across as petty. But I do want to say that at least
Oh,
Anton was a formidable opponent.
he was. Okay, and by the way, yeah, word on the street is that I'm Greg Kading's eighth steps cousin. Yeah, I've heard it all at this point. I've heard now that word on the street was that apparently I called Greg Kading up or Greg Kading called me because I was mad about false allegations that at the time of his death, Frank Alexander was having a sexual relationship with Greg Kading's sister, and that I didn't like it. So Greg Kading called me up and had me try to get certain videos removed because, God darn it, they just weren't true. I'm in league with Greg Kading, and now I'm in league with Reggie Wright. I've heard this. What else is new? I mean, you hear this stuff. I've been hearing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Well, here's the thing: is you know what? Like I said at the beginning, I'm done with the back and forth with people. All I'm doing is bringing them traffic. If they want to use my name to build their channel, more power to them. But I feel it's disingenuous. Look, I strive. I get a lot of help from this guy sitting right here. but I strive very, very hard to bring you guys eyewitness accounts and eyewitness statements of what happened from people that knew Tupac.
Yeah.
I, I
Okay. Let's wait a minute. Think about this for a minute. How many people that knew Tupac have you interviewed?
232
Okay. I've done video interviews. I've done 29.
associated with Death Row Records. Let
Right.
me clarify.
I've done 29 interviews for the assassination movies. I've done probably another 15 or 16 interviews that I've edited for Tupac, the early years, for Agent Gregory's project, for the Digital Underground project, for that. Listen, when you want to talk to people that have information or can bring you new information, do that. Talk to people that have interviewed people, okay? Why do you waste your time? And I mean, I don't understand this. Why do you waste your time on talking heads that have opinions about things because they wake up and they have an opinion about something, and waste your time when they're not interviewing anybody? They're not. I mean, I think one guy interviewed Sarah Washington. That was his big get.
Yeah.
Okay, that was his
I
get.
mean, 313's landed some big
Well,
interviews.
absolutely. I mean, we talked about that last week. That
Yeah.
he's done dozens of interviews with people, and he's done 76 shows. I mean,
Yeah.
76 interview shows. So, guys, stick with the people that actually interview people. Don't waste your time with a bunch of theorists, a bunch of people that are just telling you spouting off what they think, and they're not interviewing people. They're not actually going out and talking to anybody. They talk about all these sources. No, go interview somebody. Go do something that generates some interest. Go talk to somebody. Yeah, don't talk to people that didn't know Pac. I mean, you could talk to them, but let's get to the bottom line, because you know you can be somebody that has an opinion about, and that's all well and
Like
good.
Carcino.
Yeah.
Carcino has an
There you go.
opinion, but he's upfront about it. He's like, hey, this is what I heard, this is what I think, this is what I feel. I mean, I just hold people accountable. If I come out and make a statement, trust me, you guys out there in YouTube land, you hold me accountable for things that other people say. All I'm asking is for fair play. But, enough with other people. If you want genuine information that is put out and vetted in a way where we don't just rush out. We had the tip about Reggie Wright for the last 48 hours.
Yep. Yep.
And we wanted to make sure we
Got it
looked it
Friday.
up. We looked it up to make sure that it was correct before we even said anything about it. We didn't rush the story out. We're going to give you the journalistic integrity that you would expect from your favorite news station.
Right.
What did I miss?
No,
What
no,
did I
you
miss?
didn't. There's a comment. I interviewed my local librarian, and he thinks that Reggie's an asshole. You know what? That's about right. That's about as random as it gets. You got these guys that are on there. They're burning up just hours and hours of YouTube videos, and people are subscribing and they're watching them. And by the way, guys, when you subscribe and you watch these videos, or you click like on the videos,
You're paying them.
you're paying them. They're getting money. They get money for this. So if you want people to keep getting paid for not interviewing people, and you want people to get paid for just randomly ranting on and on about stuff, I
for
say
taking selfies.
for glorified 20-minute selfies.
I'll take a selfie for $20, guys.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Kidding.
But if you want to do that, that's certainly your choice. But what are you rewarding? You're rewarding people that make no effort. They run around, they try to gather some facts, and they try to say some things, and they talk to a source, and then they want you to go find out about it from somebody else. No, get behind the people that are actually out there interviewing it.
Listen,
You
I'm never going to ask you to crowdsource information. My job is to bring the information to you,
Yep.
not to ask you to bring it to me.
Jason JV, you're absolutely right. Talk is cheap, show the evidence. We've been saying that for time and time again. We say, screw the talk, show the docs. Show the things. I mean, this is my big beef with Kading. He says a lot of crap, and he doesn't put a single document out to back anything of what he's saying. He says all kinds of stuff and doesn't put a single document out to back it. And half the documents he packed out, and I'll just say it's my professional opinion, they're forged. They're bogus documents that he's put out to try to get people done there. So
The Keefe D cover sheet interview is an altered document. It has been altered, provably.
So anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So stick with us. We're coming out. We're putting some good stuff out there. When we find out a little bit more about the Russian spy, when we find out about the satellite that was flying over the Tupac murder scene in 1996, We'll let you know about that. We're following up on that. That's the breaking lead that we're just spending all our energy following up on right now. But no, when we find out about the stuff with the Reggies and we find out what's going on with that, yeah, we're curious to see where that goes too. It's, and again, we're not wasting our time because information that we get, any information he's going to give, is going to help us fill in that puzzle, fill in the picture a little bit more about what was going on at the time and what the whole backstory was that led to it. It's just every bit that we can do. But again, you know, stick with the team that delivers the news. Stick with the team that interviews people that were close to Tupac, that were close to Death Row Records, that were close to Suge. Interview people that were around at the time. Stick with the people that do the work. Get out there and talk to the people that matter. Okay?
And to answer your question, Damon, absolutely not. I believe that he was extorted. Speaking of Johnny J, I believe he was extorted. I've been very vocal about this. And if you check on I have an alternate channel. I believe I do a whole segment on it. So I implore you to go check that out. We appreciate everybody coming on the live stream.
Oh, that's a good question. Where is the Keefe D interview?
That's
You know that one that he was promoting through E1. I was there. I was the one
Yeah.
that I was there. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
The good question because when was that? That was well over a year ago.
Yeah.
So, no buyers, no takers. That's why you haven't seen it, folks. You saw it because he wanted to do an interview. He did it through E1. They put it out.
Mhm.
Had a
Well,
teaser
it got
trailer
put
for it.
out.
Teaser trailer for it.
Yeah, they put together one to sell it.
Yeah, they wanted
And
to sell it, but nobody bought it because if somebody had bought it, it'd be out.
um, Charles, I appreciate that. I don't believe that I won that debate with Greg, but you know what? I put it out just for transparency and just to show you guys. Look, for 3 years I've been trying to get these people to hold their word and give me the rest of it. There's a reason that they didn't, and I implore you guys to ask them. Um,
Yeah, I am repeating myself. Yeah, I know. I'm repeating myself. You're right. Good quote. Good point.
But we appreciate you guys stopping by. Let us know in the comments before we go. Let us know if you'd like to see Battle for Compton stream again. Yes or no? Let us know in the comments. I'm gonna run it down just one more time about what the breaking news is. The breaking news is
That I like Haagen Dazs because it's good for my
because
health.
it's good for his health. And Reggie Wright has not even been arraigned yet. That means he's not pled guilty or not guilty, and those files are being sealed, which means his co defendants cannot see what's going on. That is a high indication that he is working a deal with the prosecution, which means it's very probable that Reggie Wright Jr. is starting to roll on people that he was doing business
And
with.
we'll find out more about that. That's what it looks like right now. That's our opinion. It's speculation based on what we know, what we've seen, and what we've been told. But there does seem to be kind of a smoking gun there. Now, just so anybody else that wants to put out an interview with a talking head thinks that they're breaking news and, well, it's out on Pacer, so they could have figured out, guys, that shit's been out on Pacer for a couple of days. So the fact that you're just getting this now 48 hours after it came out when that motion was sealed means that either the people that would normally say this is common information, we got the jump on everybody and we waited 48 hours to put it out. So, if you start to hear it from everybody else, just remember where you got it from first.
All right. Thank everybody for checking out the live stream. Special shout out to the moderators on here, Mike and All About Asia. A huge shout out to all you guys. And I wanted to say hi to Sam, Sonny, Riley, and Big D. I'll see everybody on the next upload. Thanks for your support, guys.
Peace
See you
out,
later.
homies.
Peace out.